Hi, Daryl.
How are you?
I had that cough cold all week long.
Sorry to hear that. I saw you out today.
That was the first I've been out since last week.
Wow.
Well, hello to everyone. Hope everybody's
Hi,
doing.
Scotty.
Hope everybody's doing well tonight. Let's get started. Daryl, you're at the top of my list. What can I do for you?
Scotty, you know that I back up a couple of different ways. One of the ways that I back up is with a product called Carbon Copy Cloner.
Yes.
That drive has gotten full, and so it gives me an error message that says the drive is full and couldn't complete the backup.
Okay.
So I went in and I changed one of the settings so that I erased 200 gigabytes of data
Okay.
before it starts to copy.
Yeah.
It still is telling me that it's full.
Okay. You ready for some feedback?
I'm ready.
Okay. Carbon Copy Cloner is awesome. But if you think about the name of the program, it is a cloning tool. In other words, like for like, 1 equals 1. However, Carbon Copy Cloner, I believe, has a sandboxing, I believe it's called, or an ability to do incremental backups. And these incremental backups are what have filled up this drive. So what you might want to do is take that Carbon Copy Clone target drive, completely erase it, and start over again. What you will lose is the history of, actually, in Carbon Copy Cloner, it doesn't even record a history. So I would suggest you just wipe the drive. You can reformat it through Disk Utility if you want to, and then start the process over again, and you can start the incremental backup again, but you want to start fresh and clean. In other words, you've stacked so many cards on top of this house of cards, it's time to start over, reshuffle the deck, and you really won't lose anything. Does that make sense?
It does make sense, yes.
Yeah, as long as the target drive and the source drive, space-wise, make a little bit of sense. In other words, if your internal iMac drive or your internal laptop drive is 1 terabyte, you need a target drive that is at least 1 terabyte. All right? The target needs to be larger than the source or the same size as the source. So I would say, and I love Carbon Copy Cloner, it's more than what most people use. Most people just use Time Machine, and that's fine. But even with Time Machine, every once in a while, it's time to completely erase the drive and start over again. And it sounds like that's what you need to do there. And you can use Disk Utility to reformat it. All right?
Okay. Yes, thank you, Scotty.
All right, let's go to Joan. Joan, what have you got for us this evening?
Nothing terribly new, same problems, but I've learned to accept them and deal with them. But I would like you to look at my Apple Mail screen. On the left-hand column, I have just too many categories.
Okay, I'm going to jump over. All right, let me stop you for a second. I'm going to jump you over, and so we can take a look at your screen. So when you see a request for you to become the presenter,
I did.
good. So everybody in the meeting is looking at Joan's screen, and Joan, you were talking about your email, so you're going to open that and tell us about the.
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, I just have too much stuff down here, and I'm still getting my emails slowly, but I never knew there was a diagnostic thing under, I believe it's Window Connection Doctor. So I used that, and that helped me a little bit get my mail a little faster into Apple Mail. But I just don't need all this stuff down here, I don't think. But I don't want to do anything that's going to slow down my incoming mail.
Okay, so let's talk about this left-hand column in Mail for a second. You've got different accounts. You have an iCloud account and you have a Gmail account, both of which are what are called IMAP accounts, which means that they sync across multiple devices, including the folders that you create. Now, if you notice down there, you also see that you've got On My Mac, an On My Mac category. And it looks like you may have imported some stuff from the past. One of the Apple's, in my opinion, design flaws.
No, that only appeared after I did the window diagnostic connection doctor, which I never knew existed. That popped up, and I don't know if I should get rid of it. I'd like to get rid of it, but I don't want to lose it.
Don't worry about getting rid of it. Just hide it. If you hover, and this is what I was going to say, is one of, I think, Apple's design flaws is sometimes they design things in such a way that it's actually harder to use instead of easier to use. And this is one of those cases. If you hover your mouse over the word on my Mac, which is up about half an inch farther, there, now you see the word hide that just showed up on the right-hand side. If you click that, that hides that category. Now, one of the very common questions that I get from people is, where did all my folders go? And I get to their homes or their businesses, I hover over that, and I click it to show. So now we've talked about, before you hide that Gmail folder, before you hide that, we've talked many times in Town Hall in the past about how you can go in and actually unselect certain folders within that Gmail IMAP account. If you go to gmail.com, through a website, you log into your email account, you go to labels, and you can uncheck to show in IMAP. And we've covered that in the past before. But that would turn off the important, the drafts, the trash, because these are folders that Gmail gave to you that you never really even go to. The ones that you create, like maybe PDF or others, those are important, but the other ones are not so much. So if you want to hide that, just hover over the Gmail word and hide that entire category, and that's that much less that you have to look at. All right?
That's great. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to Jim. Jim, you're with us this evening. What can we do for you? Jim, can you hear us?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. What's on your mind tonight?
I'm just observing, Scotty.
All right.
Nice to see you.
All right, hanging out. Glad you could be with us tonight. Let's go to, and I'll come back around if you have a question. Or also, Jim, if you have a question anytime while we're talking, just interrupt and jump in. I tend to go a little fast, especially when there's a lot of people here. I also record all this and post it up to my website. So if I answer a question a little fast, you can always go back and look at it a little bit slower. Julia, what can I do for you tonight?
I'm just observing.
All right, just hanging out.
First time on the town hall.
All right.
Judy. It shows up as Julia, but I'm Judy.
Okay, all right.
Hi, Judy.
Hey to Daryl, too. I know Daryl.
Hi, Judy. Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you, too.
Yeah, Daryl and Joan, as well as Emma Day that just came in, they are regulars. I'll say to the new people that are in here tonight, you guys probably saw the email that I sent out. I'm going to start sending out email reminders about once every 2 weeks. I don't want to send them out every week because I don't want to, bother people too much. But about once every 2 weeks, they'll get the idea. And anytime you have a question, we've been doing this now. How long would you say, Joan? At least 3 years, maybe 4.
I think 4.
Yeah, and it's just a help session. And if people have questions, they pop in. You see how easy it is to join in. So anytime. And I'll say that I know Joan, in 4 years, Joan's maybe missed 2 ever. So there have been plenty of times, and it was just Joan and I for an hour. So please tell your friends. I'd like to make it a little bit more popular service. But let's move over to Emma Day. Oh, by the way, if any of you would like to turn your cameras on, you're certainly welcome to. There is a share my webcam like Jim just did, but you certainly don't have to if you don't want to. Let's jump up to Emma Day. Emma Day, what have you got this evening? What can we do for you?
You must not have gotten my email that I sent you. I've been out of town for a week. Did you get any email?
I don't remember getting an email from you, and I've been pretty good about answering my email here lately. I've been pretty proud of myself that I've been on it here lately. So, Emma Day, what did your email say? What did you...
I have had a mess, something I never heard of. I was in Florida, and it said, "Are you the one with this computer, number one? If not, do something." Anyway, I was, so I didn't do anything, but my husband plugged in his charger to the same outlet that I had mine in, well, the same basic box with the 2 plugs, and mine just kind of blew up, I think. The surge must have wiped it out because I couldn't get it to do anything. It wouldn't charge. It wouldn't come on. It wouldn't do anything. And I thought it was broken. I tried it 2 or 3 days and it would not work. So I got home and I was going to try to make an appointment with the Genius bar. But I called Apple Care to do that because I couldn't even do that. It was acting so weird, my phone and my iPad. And the man said, "Well, let's try it again." And he did something with me that made it come back. But it would not come on for a long time. And I mean, it wouldn't come on till I came back here.
Okay.
And I don't know whether it was a surge or what happened to it.
Well,
Have you ever had that happen?
yeah, I've seen pretty much everything. It's very rare that I see something new these days. But if you ever have a problem with an iOS device, let's say it's just not responding, or your computer for that matter, you can't force quit things. It's just not behaving the right way. Sometimes you have to just unplug the thing and plug it back up. Now on a computer, you can hold the power button down for about 7 seconds. The computer then completely goes off and you restart it again, and oftentimes that solves the problem. On an iOS device, like an iPhone or an iPad, you have to hold, and you can kind of take a look at mine here, you have to hold the top button and the bottom button for about 7 or so seconds, and then that kills the iOS device completely, and that's probably what the person on the phone walked you through, was the top button and the bottom button.
They were working, but they obviously weren't syncing well because it was my computer. I couldn't make it charge. I couldn't make it connect. I did that forced quit. I tried to restart it. Everything. It would do nothing. It was completely not responding to anything I did. Plug it in, unplug it, anything.
But you're back. But you're back now, and you're healthy now.
Yeah, it took about 5 days.
My goodness. Well, I'm glad that you're back now. I don't know what could have happened. I'm still a little sketchy on your problem. Did you have another?
I'll take a surge protector from now on when I go anywhere.
Yeah, that may have been the cause. I don't think it had to do with electricity, but bringing back up the point that if you travel a lot, say you go out of state or especially you go to another country, there are some email services, some websites that you log into that when let's say you go over to Cambodia, I don't know, and you land in Cambodia and you check your Gmail, the first thing that Google's going to do, if you're checking Gmail, let's say, is they're going to say, somebody's in Cambodia checking Imaday's email. And they're going to send you a little notice saying, is this you? You know, that kind of thing. And that sounds like one of the things that you saw. It's very common for anybody listening. I deal with this a lot. For people, and I know Jim has traveled quite a bit, so he may have encountered something like this. But for people that travel, especially to the Caribbean, islands like Trinidad, Haiti, places like that, if you join an open Wi-Fi network, you are putting yourself at risk quite a bit. I see all the time people come back from trips from the islands and their email accounts have been compromised. So if you do travel overseas, be very careful what type of Wi-Fi network you join. And I've said this many times before, it's okay to join a password protected network even if you sit down at a Starbucks and the Starbucks has a gigantic sign in front saying this is our password to our network. Everybody in the Starbucks can know the password, but everyone's traffic is hidden from every other person because it's password protected or it's encrypted. But if you go overseas or somewhere kind of shady, I know, Imaday, you probably visit some shady places. If you go...
Much as I can.
And if you travel like Imaday does over to the shady locations, then don't just make sure you also don't join open Wi-Fi networks. Surge protection is another issue, but just wanted to throw that in. All right?
Well, it was really strange because I had the little Wi-Fi box, and I was trying to join that, and it wouldn't do anything. So he used a word I've never heard before. So whatever it was that he did, I'll find a way to screw it up. So I just thought I would ask you.
All right. Well, yeah, I'm glad you got it back up and running, but I don't really know what the problem could have been. Next time you need to take me as your personal valet on your trips, and I will just...
I think that'd be a good time if you want to walk around Disney World.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you had gone to Disney World. Hey, let me ask you real quick, how was the crowd? Let's see, it's March. Was it what? I found out because it was Mardi Gras, it was a little more crowded than usual. But Okay.
I would not be able to stand it if it was a season. It's so crowded.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Well, let's jump over. I'm gonna skip on over to Skip or Skip's Buzz in the room here. What can I do for you, Skip?
Hey, how's it going, Scotty? It's been a while. You used to come out to the lake and work on my computers quite a bit, so we know each other.
Okay.
Appreciate your time. I got 2 issues.
All right.
One is with iPhoto. Whenever I try to drag a photo anywhere in my library, either to desktop or to a special folder, like I was trying to put one together for my mother, her dog just died, it says this operation cannot be completed because you don't have permission to access some of them. So I had a web developer friend who led me to Apple support and went through the whole repair permission thing.
That's where I was headed.
And but still not working. Still get the same deal. Of course, I've got a lot of photos of it in my library.
Okay.
So.
All right. So yeah, you've run into this strange permissions problem. So I'm gonna say the answer that you already know, and then I'll give you a couple of other answers or a couple other things to contemplate or think about. One of the first thing that somebody like that you were talking to and myself would go with is whenever we hear permissions problems, you got to repair permissions. Every file in the world, and I'm going to just pull over a file right now onto my desktop. If you can see that file that's sitting there, it's a PDF file or something. Every file in the world has permissions. Every folder has permissions. That's how Mac OS X is built. So if I click on that file, that folder, and I go Command-I pull up information about that file or about that folder. And in this case, and I'm also going to kind of talk in terms for everybody else as well as yourself, but in this case, if I toggle at the very bottom over here, I can share or I can view the sharing permissions for this file. And if I scroll down here, it says that in this particular case, my username is admin on this particular computer. I have the ability to read and write that file. This is also why it's really important for people to put things away into the right places. Put things into your documents folder. Put things into your pictures folder. Put music into iTunes, which is in your music folder. But people that just drop files onto the hard drive, let's say, and you can see my hard drive's up here in the top area. If I just took that file and dropped it into the hard drive, it's not living in my users folder, and eventually those permissions or the permissions could change. So the first thing I want to do is take a look at the permissions of a certain file and see what it says. If it says that I, the user, only have read permissions, then one thing I can do right there is just change it. And sometimes if it's a folder, and this is very important, if you change a folder's permissions, you click the gear, and when you click the gear at the bottom, it will say apply those changes to all enclosed items, and sometimes that's the best thing to do. But what's supposed to happen, if you're keeping everything healthy and everything's going well, you should be able to go into Disk Utility, and this is what you've already done. Go into Disk Utility, select your hard drive, and then down here in the bottom left area, repair disk permissions. And if you repair those permissions, what's supposed to happen is the computer is supposed to scan itself and say, hey, this is not right, that's not right. But I equate repairing disk permissions from within Disk Utility with your computer booted up to a doctor almost working on themselves. A dentist generally is not going to pull their own tooth. They're going to go to another dentist to do it. So the more thorough...
Just interrupt you real quick a second.
Yeah.
I use Disk Utility. I opened up iPhoto library by...
Yeah.
Disk Utility won't correct this issue. I use Quit iPhoto, and then I held down Command Option C because I opened iPhoto.
Yeah.
And then the iPhoto library first aid window opened, and that's what I used.
Right, but that didn't solve the problem, right?
No, it did not.
Okay, because I don't think... my gut's telling me that the problem is not iPhoto. The problem is the desktop folder. The problem is permissions that you have across your computer. If you're unable to write to the desktop, then there's something else going on. So if you go into...
You're right, because my second issue is that all my linked PDFs or any art files that I get sent to me or anything are all coming in locked. Okay,
so... All right, so what I'm telling you, here's two ways to do this. So step up the attention paying level here, and I'll tell you two things that you can try to do. I thought you'd already done this. So you're going to open up, first of all, open it up from Disk Utility, select your hard drive in the left-hand side, and select to repair permissions. This will take some time. As a matter of fact, after you've repaired permissions, do it again. You will find lots of permissions. It's very common to see tons and tons of permissions that are wrong. So after it's finished and it says the permissions have been repaired successfully, do it again. The second thing you want to do is, and this is a little bit higher level, but I can't remember what sort of level user you are, if you're a real beginner or if you're an advanced user, but I'm just going to assume that you're above a medium level and kind of closer to advanced.
Yeah. I do professional. professionally, but I'm not a tech. I'm about mid-level.
Okay, so anyway, what I was going to say is, if you shut your computer down, hold down the Option key, and boot into what's called recovery mode. You can Google this, and there are instruction videos out there. Shut your computer down, hold down the Option key, boot the computer into what's called recovery mode. You'll see two hard drives. You'll see your Macintosh HD drive, and you'll see a drive that says recovery mode. You boot into recovery mode, you can also open disk utility and repair permissions. You're not booting to your operating system or your computer, you're booting into sort of a secret hidden area on the same hard drive that will allow you to repair permissions on that other partition a little bit better. Those are two different ways. I'm going to give you a third way to repair this problem, or to try to repair this problem, all right?
Do you mind if I get a pen really quick?
That's fine. That's fine. Remember, I record all of this, so this will all be posted on the YouTube a little bit later today, or late tonight.
Okay, I got you.
Yeah, anytime you want to see if I go too fast on things for anybody listening, because I tend to go fast so that I get to everybody. If you go to my website, just like you got here today, and go to previous town halls, here's the one from last week, and I record it all so you can stop and go back and listen and that kind of thing. So I post them all up as YouTube videos, and those are available on my website. So I'm going to give you yet a third way to try to solve this problem. Skip, you would do something called zapping the parameter RAM. To zap the parameter RAM, you turn your computer off, and you hold down, and usually this is easiest to do with one hand. You're going to hold down the following keys. With your thumb, you hold down Command and Option together. You can see on my screen, Command and Option together. Then, parameter RAM, PR. You hold down the P and the R. If you hold down the P and the R, Command Option, so that's Command Option PR, and you turn your computer on, keep holding that down until you hear the computer chime. When the computer chimes, it will shut down and restart again. Keep holding it down, the computer will shut off, chime again, and hold it down. Command Option PR. What you're doing is resetting the short-term memory of the computer. So if you do that until you've heard the chime 3 times, you can let go and boot back into the operating system, and that may solve your problem. So those are 3 things you can try. Repair permissions from the disk utility, repair permissions from the recovery partition by booting into recovery mode, and then shutting the computer down and booting it back up, holding down Command Option PR to zap the parameter RAM.
The only thing I missed was what were the commands for recovery mode?
Hold down the Option key when you turn the computer on.
Option on. Okay.
Now, lastly, if all else fails, you can force this. It's sort of like you can force the change, and I'm going to show you right now. I've just opened up a Finder window, and let's say I am having major problems with my desktop. People are sending, everything's locked, I can't write to it. I'm going to go into my users folder. I'm going to go into my house or my administrator folder, and I'm going to find that desktop folder, and there it is. That desktop folder's permissions are messed up. Something's wrong with them. So if I go Command-I, just like I did before, I get information about it, and there's that area down there, and there I am, admin. I have read and write access, but what I might do is make sure that I might turn it off and turn it back on again, and then hit the gear and apply all changes to enclosed items, and you can see that on my desktop. Therefore, what you're doing is going straight to the source, and you're changing the permissions of that folder immediately. All right? But I think one of those things is going to solve it. All right? Okay. Let's see. I've hit everybody once. I've got Rex that just popped in. Alan. Alan, let's hit you, and then we'll go to Rex. Alan, what have you got this evening?
Quick question. I am Alan Jackson Jr. My son is Alan Jackson III.
Yeah.
For some reason, about a week ago, the following happened. Often I get emails, and it'll have correct email address, but up above it, it'll say Alan S. Jackson III. Yeah. It's as though somewhere in an address book it's
That's right.
switched.
That's
Today
right.
I started noticing if a phone call from my home phone to my cell phone, it also showed Alan S. Jackson III, whereas it used to show Alan S. Jackson Jr.
This should be an easy fix.
It must be somewhere in the address book.
It is. And the best thing you can do once you get address book opened up, and let me kind of move this over so I don't display other people's personal information. Here's some people that wouldn't mind me displaying their information. So what you'll do in your contacts, do a search for Alan Jackson, and you're gonna pop up, your son's gonna pop up, and then when you select Alan Jackson III's contact, you're gonna see your phone number in his contact most likely. So just go do a search, find him in your contacts, and you can do this on any device. The computer would be the easiest. Delete your phone number out of his contact. Make sure that his contact information is pertinent only to him and doesn't have any of your information in it. That's most likely what's going on.
Any idea why I would just start doing that all of a sudden?
Most likely a human being caused this. We like to think that computers do things on their own, but my experience has been generally humans do this. It could have been that you might have done this, Alan. You might have gone up to Card and say, hey, look for duplicates, and it may have assumed that Alan Jackson and Alan Jackson were the same person and may have merged the cards. You may have hit the command to do that unintentionally, but most likely or somebody maybe logged out of an iCloud account, logged back into an iCloud account on a phone, and it merged. But most likely a human did this. But it's an easy fix. Just search for all the Allens in your contact and go through and delete your phone number from his contact.
Okay.
All right. Let's jump over to Rex. I worked with Rex earlier today. I'm sure, Rex, you might have some follow-up. And I just walked in the door, so if you've sent me an email, I think you did. I haven't responded yet. So what have you got?
It was just a text on trying to get my iPhone back in shape. You recall I had too many pictures because of sync that happened on the other computer and
Yeah.
kind of screwed things up. So I followed the directions I thought the best I could. I had a couple of pictures on my iPhone that I plugged in to my Mac, and it came up and said, do you want to import these? And I said, yeah. And then it imported and it said, do you want to delete them off your phone? I said yes. And then you mentioned go over to the left-hand side of iPhoto and I'll see my iPhone, as it's plugged in.
Right.
And that's where I stopped because you mentioned that there would be somewhere that it would say delete all of the pictures off of your iPhone, and I couldn't find that.
Okay, I'm going to try to pull mine up right now while we're looking at it. I just plugged this iPhone that I've got into iPhoto and iTunes over here on this computer. Yeah, it's hard to find that little area. It's going to take a second because I've got all kinds of stuff opening up here. But hopefully this will boot up in a second. I'll try to find it. As a matter of fact, when I came home...
You want to use my desktop?
Yeah, that's fine. Actually... Let's jump over to take a look at yours and have iPhoto open, and we'll take a look at that now. This the problem that Rex had is very common. So anybody listening, oftentimes we take pictures on our iPhones for a month or 2 months, and we never end up and PhotoStream moves them over into iPhoto. But we never actually take them off of the device, and they don't fall off the device automatically. So we're looking at Rex's iPhoto library, and over on the left-hand column, he's got his iPhone selected, and then up here at the top right-hand corner, he's got import 12 photos. So we need to have those photos imported. So Rex, if you would, import those 12 at the top right-hand corner up there. And that's going to, and apply the duplicates.
It's the same ones that always come up. I don't know why.
Well, we're going to take these off. And now once you've done that, say don't import.
And then don't import because
slide. Okay, that's done. Okay, now go select Rex's iPhone on the left-hand side of that column again. And this is where that message should show up for us. Let's see. Scroll to the bottom of that page. The list of pictures there, yeah. And these are small enough that we're not invading your privacy. All the way to the bottom. It's not.
Yep.
No, I'm looking for where that button is. Let me see if I can find it on mine real quick. There's a category to erase the contents of erase the pictures off of the phone. I'll see if I can find it. But normally, Rex, that doesn't show up until after you've imported see, you should have gotten the ability once you imported those 12, you should have gotten that notification that we talked about that you've got a white button that says delete and a blue button that says keep. Import those 12 one more time, and this time choose to, because we're only talking about 12, this time import, don't apply to duplicates, actually import it a second time. Okay, so import those. Yeah, and keep going on that. And just select, even if, yeah. All right, yeah, you might do this 12 times, but we're hoping to finish that through. So you should only have to do that 12 times. And we could say apply all to duplicates.
Okay, it's done. Finish the import now.
Ah, so there's our message. So now choose to delete the 12 photos.
Yep.
Now, after this is done, we should see, go back to your phone now in the bottom left-hand area, or I'm sorry, not bottom. Yeah, that's right. Select that. And Jeff, I see you just popped in. We'll get to you in just a second. Let's see if that mess. There it is, down at the bottom. Remove photos from Rex Caton's iPhone. That wasn't there before. For anybody listening, if you like Rex has got about 4,000 pictures that were already in iPhoto. The process to get all of these pictures off of the phone, because maybe you want to update to 7.1 that just came out today and you don't have enough space, like I didn't when I came home tonight. So you got to take off these pictures, and the easiest way to take them off is to first choose to import the pictures from iPhoto, even though they're already there through PhotoStream. Then you get that dialog box, and I'm talking to anybody that just wants to hear this, the dialog box that has a white button and a blue button. The white button says delete the pictures. It's important that you click the white button to delete the pictures. After that's done, then you go back to select the phone in the left-hand column where Rex did on his iPhoto, and then at the bottom you get this button down here to remove the photos. Now when Rex hits that, it's going to take all 4,000 pictures that he has on his iPhone off, so that he has space to do other things. All right?
So you have to have your phone plugged in order to erase pictures?
Yeah, you could.
Because I've tried without, I don't like plugging it in, and you have to do one at a time.
Forget that. Yeah, that's no good. See, he's going to remove 3,600 pictures here, but like I told Rex earlier today, nobody needs 3,600 pictures on their phone. Maybe you want 3,600 on your iPad because that makes a little bit of sense. You know, you want to show people and have all your stuff. But on a phone, you know, not really so much. I'm going to jump up to Jeffrey. Jeffrey, thanks for joining us tonight. What can I try to help you with? Jeffrey, are you with us? Let's see. Jeffrey, can you hear us tonight? Maybe Jeffrey is out. Let's see.
Scotty, will this take some time? It looks like it completed, but will it take time to wipe all those out?
Tell you what, once that's done, Rex, go back into iTunes and see on the progress bar on the bottom of iTunes if you have a lot of space now available. I don't want to say the progress bar, the storage bar in iTunes, if that's available. I'll show you on my computer screen. I've got my phone selected over here. So in iTunes, select your phone. Bottom taskbar or bar over here, I only have a few photos, not as many as I had before. So you should have a lot more free space over here. Jeffrey, can you hear us?
Yeah, he says he doesn't have a mic.
Oh, okay, doesn't have it. All right, well, Jeff, if you have a question, type it in. Thanks, Alan. I wasn't even looking over there. Jeff, if you have a question, type it in your message over there. Some people have Mac Pros, Mac Minis, and those don't have cameras and microphones built in, or maybe the Mac Mini does, but Mac Pros don't.
Scotty, it still says on that bottom bar down there, over capacity by 5.22 gigabytes.
You might want to unplug, after iPhoto is done with the phone, you might want to unplug it and plug it back up again. That doesn't, and quit iTunes and restart iTunes. That doesn't always populate back over to us as easily. Let's see, I see Mary just popped in. Mary,
okay,
what?
So unplug it, quit iTunes.
Yeah, try that. Mary, I see you just popped in. What can I do for you, Mary? Mary, can you hear us?
Hold on.
Okay, Jeff, I saw that you've got...
Can you hear me?
Yeah, Jeff, I saw your message. You can email... Yes, I can, Mary. All right, what can I do for you tonight?
Okay, sorry.
It's okay. What can
I've got an old version. Can you hear?
Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me? I've got an old version of iPhoto, and I want to upgrade it, but I don't want to risk. I don't know which version
precaution I need to get if I don't want to risk losing any photos if I upgrade?
All right, good question. Let's see. The latest version of iPhoto, I've got iPhoto open over here, and if I go to my top left corner of iPhoto, if it will ever do it for me, and I can tell, I think it's iPhoto, what is it, 11 now, or maybe it's iPhoto 9, about iPhoto 9. So the latest version is 9.5 something. And Mary, you're probably using iPhoto 8, maybe even iPhoto 7, but an older version. First thing, before you do a major update like that, you are certainly...
I think I've got 7.
All right, so first thing you want to do is ask yourself, am I backing my computer up? Because if I'm using Time Machine and I'm backing my computer up, I don't have to worry about the pictures or the documents or the music. My computer's backed up globally. So, Mary, do you use Time Machine? Does that ring a bell to you? It's a piece of software that plugs up to a hard drive. You've got a hard drive connected to your computer. A lot of people in the meeting tonight are running Time Machine. Are you?
No, sadly I am not.
Well, that is absolutely terrible. So that's the worst thing. You should be ashamed of yourself, because if your hard drive, and I'm giving you a hard time, but if your hard drive dies, and who in this meeting tonight has had a hard drive die? Well, nobody? I'm sure. Well, I know Emma Day has. I just replaced Emma Day's hard drive. Well, trust me, there are a lot. All right, so Mary, first, before you make this big update from iPhoto 7 to the latest version of iPhoto, go get yourself a hard drive. You can go to Amazon.com and buy a hard drive. You can go to Best Buy and buy a hard drive. And once you get that hard drive, plug it up to your computer. And if you are running anything over 10.5, and I don't know what operating system you're on, but you're probably in at least the last 4 or 5 years of your computer, then Time Machine is built into your computer, and Time Machine will back up to that hard drive. Now, you have to tell Time Machine to do that for the very first time. So before we answer the iPhoto question, you need to be backing up. Because if you were to do this iPhoto update and it corrupted your iPhoto library, heaven forbid, then you didn't back up, and that would be terrible. So go get yourself a hard drive from Best Buy. They're about $80, $90. And plug it up to your computer. Once you plug it up to your computer, you're going to open System Preferences, and you're going to go to where it says Time Machine. So you select Time Machine, and I'm recording all this, Mary, so you can go back on my website and look at the video if you forget it. But once you open up Time Machine in System Preferences, you say, I want to select a disk. When you select the Select Disk button, a little dialog box pops up, and it says, okay, we see a hard drive here. Would you like us to use that as your backup? And you say, yes, I would, and you use the disk. Then your computer is backing up. Now, give this about a day, Mary, to do its job. Time Machine is a piece of software. It takes a while to make a backup. Once that backup is done, then you can address the problem of updating your iPhoto library. Does that make some sense so far?
Yes, I guess iCloud and Dropbox are not as good as Time Machine.
They are not Time Machine. This is a question that I get all the time, and this is a complete 100% misconception. People think that iCloud or Dropbox is a backup for their pictures, and I'm going to address both of those separately. iCloud is not, capital N-O-T, not a backup for your pictures. iCloud is a temporary way to get your pictures from one device to another device. But Apple is not going to just give all the space in the world to all of your pictures. Rex just imported 4,000 pictures. Maybe his library is 100 gigs. Maybe his library is 200 gigs. Apple's not going to give you 200 gigs of storage space to store your pictures. So I cannot emphasize enough that iCloud is not a backup. And I hear that every day. It's not a backup for your pictures. Secondly, Dropbox. I'm going to go show you on my Dropbox. Can you see my desktop right now, Mary?
No, but I could before.
Okay, let's see.
I guess I can.
All right,
I can see it, sorry.
Dropbox is a fantastic service that is basically a folder that sits on your computer. And whatever you put into that folder on your computer, it goes to all of your other devices. And that's awesome. I can get to it on my phone and on my computer. But Dropbox sat around one day about 6 months ago, and they said, you know what? We give everybody 2 gigs of space, and nobody's buying more space. how can we get people to buy space? We're giving them, and all they're using is the text documents. All they're doing is storing their Excel documents and their Word documents. How can we get people to buy more space? I know somebody said, let's turn on automatic picture importing. All right, so Dropbox gives you 2 gigs of space for free, and then they sent out a little update, and here it is in my preferences that says, and I'll pull this down over here, it says in import, it says, oh, would you like to enable Dropbox camera import? And what that does is as you import pictures starting today or whenever this was turned on, the pictures that you import that are also in iPhoto are now saved into Dropbox. Well, that's awesome. That's great, except you don't have enough space. Dropbox is only 2 gigs. Now you got to buy more space at Dropbox. And let's say you buy 100 gigs. Let's say you go spend $100 with Dropbox.com. And I think, Alan, you've got a larger amount of space in Dropbox, don't you, Alan?
No, I use another site.
Okay, a different site. Right. But so you might buy that more space, but you might have more than 100 gigs of pictures. So do not think of iCloud or Dropbox as a backup service. Now, Alan was referring to another backup service that he uses, maybe CrashPlan. Is that right, Alan? Yeah.
Yeah, CrashPlan's not what I have.
Yeah.
CrashPlan's amazing. You're right.
Yeah, so Alan uses an offsite backup that is a paid service. And I've told Alan this, I'm not a fan of offsite backups. I like having a physical hard drive in my hands that I plug up to the computer using a cable, and I back that thing up. And that's what I'm encouraging you to do, Mary. All right?
Okay, one last question there.
Which one do you recommend? Which hard drive do you recommend for that?
I like the Seagate Backup Plus. That's the one that I recommend the most. Now, there are good drives. I was with Rex earlier today. He has a LaCie. The LaCie drives are really good too. But for the price, the Seagates are fine because you don't need FireWire. You don't need Thunderbolt for all this. All you need is a USB drive, and those Seagate Backup Pluses are fine. While we're on that, and I talked a little bit about this last week, if you go to Amazon and you type in Seagate, that's S-E-A Gate, then you have 2 types of hard drives. You have a desktop hard drive and a portable hard drive. The desktop drive you're going to get more bang for your buck. You're going to buy more space for less money. The portable drives are a little bit more fragile, so if you have a desktop computer, get a desktop hard drive, the Seagate Backup Plus. Mary, you had a follow-up, or you had another piece of that question. What was it?
Well, coincidentally, Dropbox is telling me I need to upgrade, and I'm wondering how often, or should I upgrade to a certain point and then pull pictures off of there?
Well, you may have already kind of fallen for their trap a little bit, Mary. Can I push a button so that we can see your screen? Is it all right if we look at your screen?
Sure.
Okay, I'm going to send a message over to your screen that you're going to become the presenter, so allow that, and then we're going to take a look at your Dropbox settings. Because I bet that you probably have camera import enabled in Dropbox, and I bet that you're full of space. So there's your Dropbox up there at the top. If you will click, actually, let me send another message. No, you're doing fine. Click on that Dropbox icon, and that will tell us, go down to the gear, which is at the bottom right-hand corner. Okay, so look at that. You are 93% of your 5 gigs of space. So let's go down to preferences, Mary.
Oh, she bought 3 gigs of space.
Oh, I don't know if they might have given. Dropbox does have a little plan that they give you more space if you sign up on multiple computers and things. Yeah, so you've gone to preferences. Now that you go ahead and select that, you're there already. So get off of that. Now you see across that new window it says import. So Mary, select import. There you go. You were just there. It's right in front of you there. Account, import, network, advanced, import. Right. And okay, so Dropbox camera import is off for you. Now, there is a difference, Mary, between updating to the latest version of Dropbox versus upgrading your plan with Dropbox. I'm willing to bet that you didn't pay Dropbox any money for 5 gigs. You probably just got that from signing up on different devices or things. So I don't think you're going to well, how should I say it? You're not going to run out of space as long as you manage what you have in Dropbox. So close that window real quick in the top left-hand area. Select
This
your
one?
yes. Select your Dropbox folder in the left-hand column of that Finder window. We have a Finder window right in front of us here. It says Dropbox, Documents, All My Files going across the left-hand column. Select Dropbox in it's the frontmost window. Now you just kind of hit it. So if you will go to the top left-hand corner and red button that window away. We don't need that window. So red button that off. Close that window. If you hit the red button in the top left-hand corner, there you go. We don't need that window. All right, and red button that, and red button that. Now, you see that window? You see the window that's right in front of you there? That's it. In the left-hand column, you see the Dropbox folder. It's at the top of that list. Go up about 4 inches.
How do I get there?
You should see it right there. You're close. All right, don't. Yeah. It's on the left.
Okay.
Am I the only person seeing it? That's it. There you go. Okay. So you've got go to the. You see all these different folders. Some of these folders you have stored great deals of data, 5 gigs worth. So maybe there's some stuff in here that you don't need to store in Dropbox. So you go through, find these folders like advertising photos. If you need those in Dropbox, then leave them there. But if you don't, maybe drop them back into your Documents folder and get them out of Dropbox, so that will give you a little bit of headroom, because right now you're really close to that 5 gigs of space. If you take one of these folders and move it off into your Documents folder, they're therefore out of Dropbox and you have that space available. Does that make some sense?
Yes, but what happens to photos when you put them in a document file? Do they stay, I guess I'm confused in how they...
Okay, well, these folders are folders that you created, and I don't know what's inside those folders. Why don't you click on advertising photos real quick? All right?
It's more folders of more photographs.
Okay, so that's just an organizing method that you have, that you've used. But do those have to be in Dropbox? So the question really, Mary, is do you have an iPad where you go on site and you open up the Dropbox app on the iPad and you scan through those pictures? Are those pictures important enough for you to be able to look at on your iPad when you're on site somewhere?
Possibly.
Okay.
I mean, what I need desperately and more than anything is a way to organize photos. I'm an interior designer and I have a lot of different jobs, and I also need sources. I need to remember furniture. And so that's what I'm trying to do in iPhoto. I don't have to keep it here, but I do need a place to organize my photos.
Okay, so if you're kind of in the picture business is what you're telling me here, you can do it this way. And this makes some sense, and I have a lot of people that do this, where they organize folders of pictures or documents or whatever. But Dropbox, you're going to run out of space if you do it this way. Now, you could buy more space from Dropbox, and that's fine if this method is good for you. Or you could make projects within iPhoto, maybe the house at 32 Shamrock Lane and the house at, Taylorville Drive or whatever, and you make different albums in iPhoto for each one of those. Then you plug your iPhone or your iPad up and you sync those particular projects. All right? That would make a little bit of sense to do that.
And so that's why I need the better version of iPhoto to organize. I'm hoping it will make it easier to organize everything.
While you're at it, go up to the black apple in the top left-hand corner and select About This Mac. Let's see what version of the operating system you're on here. You are on 10.8, so you're not too far away. You go ahead and get the newer version of iPhoto while you're at it. But hopefully I've spent a lot of time on that, but hopefully that answers your question a little bit.
It does. I'm sorry for hogging all this time.
No problem.
So I'm going to get a hard drive to back up the photos, but upgrade iPhoto. I shouldn't lose photos in the process of doing that.
After you do the backup. You should not.
Okay.
No, you shouldn't. But it would be very irresponsible for me to say to you, oh, yeah, sure, go ahead and back up. I mean, go ahead and update to the latest version of iPhoto. You're not backing up. I trust everything. No, don't do that. And if you look up there at that exclamation point in the middle of that circle, anybody that's listening tonight that has an exclamation point in the middle of their circle, Mary, move up, that's it. That means that you are not backing up. So if you click that right now, Mary, it may even you probably had a drive at one point connected. Maybe you have a drive in a drawer somewhere that you that you started at one time, but the computer's saying, "Hey, look, we have not seen this hard drive in forever." So that's the most important thing. I'm going to open this up for anybody I've hit everybody once already. So if you have a question, jump in and just be loud and boisterous. Who's got a question?
Okay, so the only way I
About the backup.
Joan, let's take yours, and then I'll go to Skip, I believe it was. Joan, what was yours?
Okay, you sort of answered this, but I'm not sure. In other words, I cannot delete 1,000 photos from my iPhone without syncing it to the computer and doing it that way.
You could do it
Otherwise, I
manually.
have to put
The
1,000 times.
Right. So, but the answer to the question is no. You could do it manually, but the smarter thing to do would be to connect them to iPhoto. Yes.
Okay, but it ends up bringing more stuff in all the time. It goes too fast. I can't, like, say I don't want any more apps or whatever put back on it.
Well, it's all managed through iTunes if you choose it to be. I'll jump over there real quick. I think I've got my phone connected here in iTunes. And let me see if I can jump over here.
It starts so quickly that sometimes I don't have a chance to choose what I want.
Joan, have you ever been skydiving?
No, and never will. Thank you.
All right. Well, skydiving is much like syncing your phone for the first time if you're a little scared of it. But you've fallen off a bike, right? And you got back onto that bike. When you skydive, you just have to hold your breath and hope that the parachute goes out, and there's really nothing that you can do to control that. You've got to get over, Joan, you've got to get over that fear of syncing your device.
It's been synced, but it just goes faster than I can say no.
Well, don't worry about it. Even if it put all this other stuff back on, there's nothing that can't be undone. So right now, this phone that I've got plugged up to this computer, I don't sync it to this device at all. I sync it to the device that's over to my left over here. But I'm not worried about it because I can select it if I wanted. I can select it in the left-hand column, and I could say, okay, here are the pictures that I want. Oh, you just put 10 more pictures on or 1,000 more pictures than I wanted? That's okay. I just want to go into my photos, and I want to say, actually, I don't want those. So you just undo what you've done. People do it every single day, all day long. So it's okay to sync that. Just jump in and sync it. And the worst that's going to happen is your phone looks a little different, and you go out and you just change it. It's not, just do it. Don't worry about it. It's all right. Skip, was it Skip that jumped in? Skip, did you have a question?
Hey, yeah, just a couple things. I ran into the district utility and the perfect backup mode, and it prepared some things, but the photos are still not working, so I'm going to go through the other two, and I'll just go back to your recording and go through those, because you have to turn the computer off, and then I have to issue.
Right, yeah, to get into recovery.
I should read some of the repair things that it's saying. It's like warning SUID file system library, ports have been modified, will not be repaired. Some things like that. And there's a whole bunch of stuff. There's like about 40 or 50 things in here.
Yeah, that's very common to see
That would help make sense.
No, it's very common to see all those. You'll see print drivers that have the wrong permissions. Yeah. You'll see Adobe file after Adobe file.
A lot of items and application stuff.
Yeah, it'll say, it was read, and it should have been read, write. Go ahead.
All right. Moving on to the backup, and I've been doing the time machine, but I have a lot of really big, since I'm in the business, I do a lot of big video and photo files, Photoshop files, and I was using like a 2 terabyte USB file. S5 is not the most Apple friendly as far as
Sure.
as it goes with the backup. So I have Thunderbolt, so I was looking for the Thunderbolt backup, and the only place I could find one was the Apple Store, but it was like it's much more expensive.
Yeah.
And then Best Buy said, "Oh, we have a Thunderbolt USB 3.0 adapter."
Yeah.
Of course, you could never find to order online over the holidays. And then it seems to me that when I use just the USB backup hard drive, it takes a really long time to do time machine, and a lot of times it will just sort of stop in the middle of the backup. Am I doing something wrong there?
No, USB obviously is going to be much slower than anything else. but you don't
Yeah,
need that.
we got it to 800. I've got Thunderbolt. I really much rather use that.
Well, but do you have multiple iPhoto libraries, Skip?
Not yet.
Okay.
You and I have talked about that.
Right, I remember that now. So if you had an iPhoto library, if I had a Thunderbolt drive, I don't have any Thunderbolt drives, but if I had a Thunderbolt drive, I might put an iPhoto library over on that, or I might edit video over to that, or I might put my music, maybe I'd put my music library over there, although music library is not really a speed issue. But if I'm editing video, if I'm accessing my iPhoto or my Aperture or my Lightroom library on an external drive, Thunderbolt's the way to go. But as far as the Time Machine drive goes, once it's done, it really shouldn't get in the way that much. Are you saying, well, I mean, obviously the initial backup is going to take some time, and that's why I told Mary earlier, wait a day and just let it do its thing.
And I've done that. And, I've got the MacBook with about a 700 terabyte hard drive on it, and I've got all my music, photos, and videos on here. I backed it up. It's been a while because I've been having some lockup problems every time I get a Time Machine on this. I got a 1 or 2 terabyte hard external that I'm using. For some reason, it seems like it wants to stop in the middle of the backup.
Yeah.
I don't know exactly why that's happened.
One more thing here, Skip, while I'm thinking about it is, and this gets beyond sort of our town hall scope, but one other thing you can try to do is boot into a second test user, create a test user for yourself. You've got your normal user, go into the test user, go to the internet, drag 1 or 2 pictures off the internet, drop them into that iPhoto library that's in the other test user, because it's going to be a blank iPhoto library. That's not going to be your pictures. It's just a blank iPhoto library with a test user. Drag some pictures off the internet, put them into there, drag them out of iPhoto and onto the desktop, and see if you can write to the desktop. In other words, what you're trying to do is determine, is this problem system-wide across my whole computer, or is it just dealing with my user? So,
Okay.
but that's the kind of thing I can help you with in person, too, if you need. Guys, I'm going to be closing this.
Last quick question. What's the best way to edit contacts? I accidentally downloaded all these contacts off an old phone. I downloaded, and I have all those put out it's on my iPhone now. How can I go on my computer? You go in the cloud and go into your address book and just.
Yeah, if you're using iCloud to sync your contacts, there's a couple of things. If you have contacts from the old that have been updated, you can select to merge duplicates. I had mentioned that earlier tonight. I'm trying to get my contacts to open. So let's say if I have all my contacts here, go up under the word card and merge those duplicates. You could do that. You could also go through with the handy dandy command key and select multiples. So you just go down through the list and say, I don't like that person, I don't like that person, and then you delete those. One more thing that you could do, if you haven't done anything since that time, you could go to the last import, and that last import group will say, hey, here are the people that you just pulled in a little while ago. You could then delete all of those last imported and maybe get rid of them. But if you've imported one, since you imported the other 300 or so from the Palm, then last import is out of the loop. All right?
And this is on the cloud that I'm doing this?
You can do it, well, if you're using iCloud to sync your contacts, you can do it from anywhere, but the contact program on the Mac is fine, or you can go to iCloud.com and do it. Oftentimes I do run into people that have used many services to sync contacts, and they've got Google Contacts, got Yahoo Contacts, they got an Exchange server, but hopefully you're just using one service, and then you can manage it from there. Okay, anyone who is worked with me lately, or even if you haven't, if you'd like to leave a review, I would love that. You can go to my website, into the reviews section, and drop a review into Apple and let them know how I'm doing. I would really appreciate that if you take a second to do that. Otherwise,
I did that.
Great, I appreciate it. I'm going to be gone, or we're going to be heading out, and I'll see you guys again next week. Thanks, everyone, for coming in.
Thanks a lot,
Thank
guys.
you. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
The organizer has ended the session, and this call